That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Yeah. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to this week's episode of the OneCast. You got Ben on at the crib. He's packaging jigs as we speak and soft plastics for you guys. I'm in the studio. We got a cool guest coming on. Ben showing you one of those luscious Nighthawks right there. Speaking of Nighthawks.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh?
Keep going. You got it.
Speaking of the Nighthawks, you guys need to head on over to OneCastFishing.com. Use the code TheOneCast, all one word at checkout. Save some money on all those snagless jigs, weedless neds, long neck hooks, soft plastics, and everything else that he has to offer. All here out of Sanford, North Carolina, baby. Veteran-owned company. We love it the most. Also, while you're online, use that link we provide you to head on over to Hobie Eyewear. Save 15% at checkout. Get your hands on all the different frames they have to offer, different lens options. The floating frames are our favorite because, frankly, you're never going to lose another pair of sunglasses in the lake again. They got some new stuff coming out. Be on the lookout for that. Great videos that they're going to be pumping out. Give you some teasers of what's about to be here for 2026. Also, speaking of Hobie Eyewear, I want to shout this out real quick. June 27th, Jordan Lake cleanup, 9 to noon. We're going to be out there with our boats. We're going to be picking up the shorelines. It's part of Carl Jochimson's global cleanup initiative. And we're looking forward to that. So if you're free on that day, swing out to Jordan Lake on June 27th from 9 to noon. Bring your boat, bring your pontoon, kayak, doesn't really matter. And pick up some trash, help clean up the resources. Ben's laughing. Hang on. Let me move forward with this. Before your next fishing trip, make sure you guys go to your Play Store, App Store, download the Deep Dive app. Helps you guys break down bodies of water quicker. Gives you a good bait tool selection, all the different weather considerations. If you're on a flood control reservoir, it's going to tell you if they're pulling water or not. It's got geo imagery that you guys can take a look at. Deep Dive has been a great partner to the shows. We love their app. It really helps us narrow down where we want to start on the lake and get that stuff dialed in. We've been using that app for years. So make sure you pay for that annual subscription. It's like $80 a year. Moving to Central North Carolina, you're going to need a good real estate agent. That's going to be Terry Carpenter. You can reach him at carpentert@hpw.com. Howard Perry Walston and Caldwell Banker. Uncle Terry is a bass fisherman. He's going to put you in the home of your dreams. And then finally, our newest partner, we love them so much, out of Indianapolis, Indiana, is WAYMIRE Distribution. They got everything boat trailer related parts, emergency kits, brand new hubs, axles, torsion stuff for a lot of those Ranger trailers that I know are a problem because we dealt with that with Mike Johns' boat. Waymire's a great organization. They've hooked us up. You can reach them at 1-800-434-4824. And they got customer service representatives on standby. They're going to help you guys out with everything that you need. So super proud to be part of the WAYMIRE team. Ben, what were you laughing at?
Kitty cats laying right in front of the camera.
Oh, yeah. We do have a friend. This is Veronica Luna. If everyone must know, she's a rag doll. And she's one of my surprise cats that I came home off of deployment. Seemed to be the norm right there. Coming home and having a new furry friend. My wife's in the studio, but you guys can't see her, but she's listening. So super happy to have Veronica sitting here on the table. Pete's not with us tonight. He is dropping his boat off to have a little bit of a surprise for everybody at the Fishers and Men Championship, which is going to take place on Jordan Lake on June 13th. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But we got a great guest that's going to jump on here, and we're going to talk about consistency as he just sealed the deal with a cool tournament trail that they have here in Central North Carolina. So before we bring him on, Ben, is there anything we need to update the audience on?
No, I think let's bring him on and then we can talk about. So, in fact, Seth, you're on now. Welcome back, Seth Ellis. He's going up and sorry. I don't know what he did to get him. Probably some stuff right there. But
I had to almost get rid of my firstborn.
Yeah. But Seth did you win the tournament or did you win AOY last weekend for 5?
No. We just won AOY. Those boys smoked them. But yeah, we won AOY.
So Seth,
you can't not just AOY. He said just AOY.
Just AOY, yeah, just AOY. Well, I was going to make Seth won AOY for his Five Alive tournament here in North Carolina, and then Pete and Trey won their AOY for their Fishers of Men again. So twice in 3 years.
You can just say Trey. That's fine.
I'm just kidding. That's why he can't be the lead at Lake Wheeler.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I think it's winning the points championship or angler of the year, whatever they want to classify it as. It doesn't matter what tournament trail you're in, whether or not it's a local club or if it's Five Alive, no forward facing. I want to talk about that here in just a second, or anything. Anybody that wins that should be proud of it, because if anybody fishes competitively, like, it's super humbling. It's hard to stay consistent depending on where you're at in the country. And sometimes you just have bad years, man. But definitely wanted to talk about that with Seth real quick for the audience. And, we got a lot of North Carolina listeners. And one of the things they appreciate about the show is us talking about North Carolina fisheries. Obviously, we're not going to spill all the beans on all of our fisheries, but we do like to give people a little bit of, tips and tricks on how to catch them. But that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Five Alive, no forward-facing sonar trail. Seth, as you left the MPFL last year and you signed up, like, what was your mentality? What was your thought process about this whole no forward-facing sonar Five Alive deal?
I mean, I was comfortable with it. Obviously, I've been doing it for the last 2 years on the MPFL. I wanted to get back to fishing, man. I had some really high highs out there on the road and some really low lows, and I ended my last tour event with the check and a good finish, and I just wanted to fish locally, kind of get an idea of where I was going to try to head back to in 2027. And then with the no forward facing sonar that Five Alive had, it just made sense. I mean, and that's my style of fishing. And don't get me wrong, I can use the technology. I have it on my boat now. Yeah, it is what it is, man. Unfortunately, I try not to use it, to be honest with you. And even when I'm practicing for these events, for the most part, I don't ever turn it on, because then all of a sudden you just change the entire dynamic of how you approach things. And I don't want to do that. So moving, from the last event of the MPFL to moving forward to this year, that was just my whole goal, was just to get back to doing what I enjoyed doing. And to your point earlier, I am super proud, because I'll be honest with you, the last 2 years, I haven't spent much time on these lakes around here. These guys are all local hammers, right? They spend a lot of time, and regardless of my skill level, I'm still behind the time, because these guys have lived there their whole life. I've only been down here 12 years. So I'm super proud of it. Timmy and I both were. Timmy's like, I want to win a points title. I've never won one. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So that's what we really work towards.
Easier said than done, Timmy. But, exactly. I mean, you've been down here 12 years, but you've been fishing, I mean, a lot. Obviously, that's what you do for a living. I don't think people kind of, when you ask somebody like, oh, what do you do for a living? Man, I fish for a living. What does that mean? Well, that means I fish as many high-level competitive tournaments, whether or not it's locally, regionally, or nationally. And I make money doing that, not only off tournament earnings, but contingency money with Toyota, contingency money with Nitro. I know what you run, Mercury contingency money. There's all sorts of things that feed into, but you got to fish a trail that qualifies for those contingency programs. So, you fished all over, right? You fished the old Piedmont Bass Classics. You fished the Cat. You fished, I don't know, the list goes on. But based on seeing the no forward facing sonar deal with Five Alive, how much of an audience did that really attract for this year compared to what you've seen in the past?
Well, I can tell you, I think with the exception of the CBCs, which is a multi-state deal, they were the largest grossing boat number tournament. I don't know how you to say that. They drew the most boats on average for for any team trail locally around here all year long. They averaged over 60 boats every tournament, which is huge for a guy like me who needs the contingencies in order to make my money. So yeah, it was huge. I mean, the first one I was actually with you guys at the Classic. They drew 85 or 86 boats, which is astronomical these days for a team event at Heiko, of all places. Yeah, exactly. And then they drew 60 and 65 plus in every single event. Most of them had, I think the last one at Bugs had 77. And then this one at Mayo was the lowest number he had all year, which was 55. But even then, 55 at Mayo is strong when it's, the end of the year as far as these spring trails go.
So we know that, the MPFL now, they don't, as of what was it, a couple years ago, or at least last year, they did the complete ban on forward-facing sonar. So you obviously have a target audience that they're catering to, both from a consumer standpoint and an angler standpoint. When you're fishing the Five Alive no forward-facing sonar deal here in Central North Carolina, what's the attitude of the So what kind of anglers does it draw? Do you see a different demographic that shows up for those tournaments versus what you see in other trails? And then secondly, is the attitude not in a good, bad, or in between way, but is the attitude about the technology different, obviously, over on the Five Alive side, no forward-facing sonar?
All right, so to answer your first question, the demographic to me hasn't changed. It's the same guys I've seen all these other places. I think more guys are comfortable not having to worry about fishing with it or without it, or getting beat by it or not getting beat by it, right? They're just comfortable that it's not in play. They can go fish their strengths, and that's the kind of guys that are there. It's been, I've seen guys that as young as 17, 18, 19 years old. And then obviously you have all these guys that have been around here for years that are in their mid to late 60s and early 70s that are still doing it. So I don't think that changed.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't think it did, to be honest with you.
That keys me in on something. I think it was about 6 to 8 months ago. I think I watched a video of Castledine, Todd.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, just ban it. If you ban it, like, these young kids aren't going to go away. Those 17, 18-year-olds are still going to come out because they love to fish and they're hungry. They're still going to do it.
That's right.
And the old people are still going to be there. So, it's just makes sense.
But what you see, though, I'll be honest with you. What you see, though, is you see more seasoned guys winning. That's just fact. You're not seeing young guys without it. And that's just me being honest in this trail. Now, it may be in other trails. I'm just saying in the 6 events that I fished, there wasn't a guy under 30 that won anything.
No, I believe it. I mean, if you look at the elites, right? When they have their non forward-facing sonar events, there's a lot more variability in that top 20 to 25 than there is when it's forward-facing sonar. It's because time on the water is the best thing. And when you don't have technology as your crutch, which, look, technology lets you catch more fish, bigger fish. You find out where they're at. It's great. But it's a different skill set than it is time on the water.
For sure. And for the audience, I want to make this point. It's not a good or a bad thing, what we're talking about. It's just want to understand, right? You can see this in the MPFL, even with the Elite Series anglers that fish the MPFL. You get a lot of people like, oh, well, obviously, the Hackneys and the Cherries and everybody else, they're doing really well. They're dominating in the MPFL.
Some of them, some of them are not.
Some of them aren't, right? Same thing with Five Alive, no forward-facing sonar. On the flip side of that, have you seen anglers not show up because they're like, dude, I don't want to fish without forward-facing sonar? So are there a lot of people that don't show up and fish that trail too?
There are some guys that will not show up. Correct.
Yeah.
But I will be honest with you. I saw a group out there this year that I didn't think was going to be there, but I can also tell you that I don't think they cashed a single check all year.
Yeah.
But kudos to them for showing up, because I'll be honest with you, I never thought they would, and they did, and I'm happy they did, and it gives me a little bit more respect for them, that they'll take their lickings like everybody else will.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I'm okay with it. But yeah, I think there are some guys that will not show up without the technology. But for the most part, I think most of the guys that are fishing this thing, I mean, most of them have it on their boats. When they drive by you can see they got it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't speak to why they fish it, but I can tell you why I did, and I'm glad that I did.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, go ahead, Ben.
Well, I was going to ask. So when you look at your season this year, to win AOY as a team, like that requires consistency. You got to be good pretty much every single event. So like, kind of walk us through. Like, was there any like one technique, bait, strategy? What was so important to you all being so consistent all the tournaments?
Probably just the fact that everything kind of was what I would call a normal deal for this area, right? Everything kind of happened.
Do you think how do you think the low water and all the drought and stuff we had all affected anything this year for you?
It sped some stuff up for sure. Yeah, it did. It actually skipped some bites. It skipped some bites, and what I mean by that is like usually earlier in the year you got a better crankbait bite, moving bait bite. Well, there's some lakes that didn't happen on because the water never got to where those fish wanted to be to make those techniques efficient. Now I'm not saying guys didn't catch them on those baits. I'm just saying like a stronger bite than normal because there was low water. Here's a prime example. Like Kerr Lake was one that was down forever and ever and ever. The crankbait bite was awful because 7-8 feet low, the rocks that those fish normally get on were out of water. Right. So the drought did affect some things and moved the spawn up in other places, and it delayed it in other places too. The lack of high water, I think, changed the way most guys fish places. I feel like most guys wouldn't go to certain areas because they didn't think there was enough water there, where in fact they were still fishing those places. And I know Trey can attest to that. But for the most part, consistency was that I kind of had a grasp on what was going on. I fished quite a bit this spring, just because now that's what I'm doing back at the house. And I think I just had a good grasp. There was a time from like the last part of April to the first part of May, so like a 3-week period where I lost touch with some fish, and it was just on different bodies of water. And I think it was that time frame where the last big wave had came up. They were done, post-spawn, hadn't quite moved out yet, but weren't up there shallow. And the last little bit to come up and do their deal hadn't even showed up. So the bank fish just kind of got depleted. And Timmy and I kind of struggled. We were fortunate enough to cut a no, we didn't. That was our worst finish of the year, and it was 15th. It was at Bugs, actually, ironically, the place I was looking forward to the most. I just lost touch with them. Now, granted, there were some errors during the day that cost us some fish, but regardless, I wasn't on a bag of fish to do well. But other than that, I think that was just the key, was just staying on the water, kind of understanding how these fish were setting up with the low water in most, if not all of our lakes, and just adjusting depending on weather, and that meant by clouds or sun, wind. And I can't say rain because we hadn't had any in months.
We still, I think we got like 3 days of rain, like in 3 different time spans. And so our and what Seth is talking about, folks, is if you live in Central North Carolina, you'll notice Falls Lake is extremely low. Jordan Lake is 1.5 feet low, 1.25 feet low, whatever. But Falls Lake has been super low. Norman's absolutely super low and stuff. But Seth, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, you talked about time on the water. A lot of people that listen, they fish 1-day tournaments, right? And let's talk about practicing for a 1-day tournament, right? Because no matter if you're fishing a 1-day, obviously practicing for a 1-day tournament is going to be a little bit different than a multi-day event, but still talk about some of the keys to success with practicing for a 1-day shootout. That maybe the listeners need to know about. And I'm going to preface this with one example. I know a lot of people that go out there and practice for a tournament that absolutely hammer them in practice. right? They absolutely stick all their high percentage fish in their high percentage areas. When you go, let's say, to any of these lakes, what is your, like, kind of walk us through like how you practice for a 1-day event?
So normally I'll go 2 days, and I'll go a day just early in the week, just because the way that my wife's work schedule is, I can kind of get a free day to go. And then I try to find a day that's going to mirror what I'm going to see on tournament day weather-wise, right? So if it's Monday and Tuesday, then it's Monday and Tuesday. If it's Wednesday and Friday, it's Wednesday and Friday. But I try to spend 2 days. Now, sometimes I don't get 2 days. This year, I think I got 1 day for Gaston, and I got 1 day for, I don't know, another one. Maybe it was Jordan. I'm not sure. Anyways, but the biggest key for me is especially because these lakes are so small, with the exception of bugs, I try not to stick any fish. I mean, at all, period. If I do, I do, but it's not my goal. My goal is to get an understanding of how they're setting up, what they're eating, and where they're going, coming or going. If I can figure that out, then basically I have no issues running new water during the tournament, especially during the spawn, just because there's fish constantly moving up every hour of the day. So I don't get dialed into too many things or one thing, so to speak. I just say, okay, these fish are coming to this region of the lake, this area, and I'm going to focus on this section of the creek. Ready? It's the first third, the middle third, or the back third. And then I'll kind of play with baits more so once I get that second day out there, right? That second day when I kind of mirror the weather, what's going to be. And I say, okay, I'm going to have slick conditions, but it's going to be cloudy, right? No wind and cloudy. Will these fish chase? Do they want to stay still? Are they going to roam? So I just kind of look at the conditions and base my bait choice off of that. And if I can get some, let's say, for instance, I get some bites on a moving bait, whether it's a topwater bait or a thunder cricket or something like that, then I'll say, okay, I can get bites on that. But then I try to dial in what I need to do to get a big bite, because you guys know that you have to have a big bite in order to win a tournament. You just have to. It's very rare that you show up with 3.5 to 4 pounders in a tournament. It's hard to do. So you're going to have a 4 3/4 to a 5.5 or 6. If you have one of those, then you got a shot to win in any event that you fish, with the exception of, like, I'd say falls.
Jordan or falls.
Yeah. So when you go to like Mayo, Heiko, Gaston, Kerr, those places, you catch one of those fish, you got a shot to win. So that's what I try to do. I just get an idea of what they're doing, and then the day that I go that mirrors the same conditions on tournament day, I try to dial in a bait or a couple of baits, and then I'll just lean on those during the tournament. Now, sometimes it won't work, and I just have to change and adapt with the conditions, and kind of move zones, right? Sometimes zones just go flat for whatever reason, right? You see a lot of life on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or even a Thursday, and come Saturday, conditions are the same, or they've changed and the zone's gone flat, and you might be able to pick a creek and run pockets in that creek and you see no life. Run a mile, pick another creek, run a few pockets and see no life. Sometimes you just got to pick the trolling motor up, run 15 or 20 miles and reset. And it might be the same thing in that new zone was going on in the old zone. So you're not too far out of comfort. It's just a different landscape. It's a different, you change of view. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, you see that a lot. That's one of the things you and I, like, throughout the season, we've called each other, and we fish 2 different trails and stuff. But even though you've only been down here 12 years, you still spend a considerable amount of time on a place like Bugs and Gaston and stuff, because frankly, those are way more fun than the Central Piedmont lakes, in my opinion. You can't run patterns on those lakes. We've had that conversation before. But you talked about that zone deal. You talked about that zone.
Patterns.
Huh?
You can run patterns on those lakes.
I mean,
no, you can. But here's the problem, and I'll argue this till I'll argue this for anybody out there. Falls in Jordan specifically are spot lakes. That's a fact, bud. I'll put as many amount of money on as you want to. These local guys that win the hammers, the best on them lakes, They went on the same rock piles. They went on the same brush piles. They went on the same stretch of ledges. It's facts. You can't pick up and go from one end of ledge rock to the dam and do the same thing and win a tournament out there, because you're going to have a guy that pulls up on one rock pile and smokes them, and you can't touch it. It's just the way it is.
You're right with the wedding fish, but if you're out fun fishing, you can definitely pattern them.
Yeah, I mean,
like if you start on pose and you catch them on the roadbed, you can run every single roadbed and catch fish.
Yeah, and
correct.
And I
not the winning fish exactly right, but yeah, you're right on.
So maybe that should be rephrased, that the winning sacks that come off those places usually come off of spots, not off of patterns.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. But we've talked throughout the season, and talk about that zone deal. So you talked about practice a little bit, covering a lot of water, kind of, if the weather during the week is going to mirror the tournament day, it's the best day to go out there to see if you can get something going to kind of have those exact same conditions. And then you talked about the zones, and I think that's important for the audience to know too, right? Like you can be in a no fish or a small fish zone. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. This last Fishers Men tournament, I called Seth. He was getting ready to go to another tournament for Five Alive, their last one on Mayo. And I was like, man, I'm just not seeing them in this area. And he goes, it's going to be a zone. It's either going to be like up the lake, middle of the lake, or down the lake type deal, right? Let's use those three scenarios. And that's where either throwing a bait during practice that doesn't have a hook on it, or maybe sticking a couple fish during practice is a good thing, because like you're going to be able to judge the quality outside of the bed fishing, right? Bed fishing aside, when you're covering water, whether or not you're throwing a, like Seth throws a Strike King Thunder cricket, or I'll be, it doesn't matter. You're throwing a moving bait to cover water. Like you're going to be able to gauge the quality of those fish. And that's exactly what happened to Pete and I in the Fishers Men tournament on Gaston. Is any further up the lake after a certain point, it was like 10 to 13 inch fish. And then any certain point at going down the lake, it was quality fish. Right. And so, for the audience, as you guys are getting ready to practice for these one-day events or even multi-day events, like pay attention to that stuff, because I'm telling you right now, if I would have made a run all the way up and fished 30 miles away from the dam, I would have been catching 10-inch fish. I wouldn't have known that if I wouldn't have practiced up in that area. And that's also an important thing too, Seth. Like, even though you have all this history on these bodies of water, how important is it for you, even though you have history, how important is it for you to run new water that you don't typically run and also eliminate water?
Super huge. Look, I never used to be that way. I used to hunker down and pick everything apart. And I still do that at times when I find the fish. But I'll be honest with you, one of the hottest and best anglers in the world right now was a travel partner for me 2 years ago, or the last 2 years in the MPFL. And that dude is better than anybody at literally picking the trolling motor up and running 50, 60 miles, which I saw him do at Lake Eufaula, to find fish. He doesn't care. Those guys, and that's something that I learned being out there, is that you just have to change constantly, because things are changing constantly, right? So for me, the biggest thing is even though, I live literally 5 minutes from falls, I haven't been on it but one time this year, and I know things have changed. So yes, I could probably put my boat in right now and run 12 miles of river channel and know that they're sitting on all 12 miles of that, somewhere in between, right? But they may not be sitting on certain places now because the water's low. So you have to refine those fish. You have to look at new areas. And those are all things that you have to do, especially as your development as a tournament angler. Because if you get stuck running the same stuff, you might have success for a year. You might have success for 2 years. And then all of a sudden, something's going to change. The bottom contour is going to change. The stump rows you were fishing are going to fall off and go to the river channel. Some type of grass is going to die, or the water's going to be low, and something's going to change. And then you're going to be SOL because you haven't taken the time to understand different parts or bodies of waters, how they lay out at different conditions. So you always got to run new water, to me. And sometimes I run new water because I get tired of seeing the same stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to go and fish docks. I don't want to go and fish grass. I don't want to go and fish hard spots. I want to go and see, all right, let's go see if I can go get really skinny and throw a topwater, or let's see if I can, skip a jig around flooded bushes, whatever it may be. I just want to change my scenery because it keeps me on my toes as well.
Yeah. Speaking of scenery, Ben, one of the things I wanted to talk about, and Seth can chime in on this, I'm not from here. Ben, you're not from here. Seth, you're not from here originally. One of the most important things that I think happened this year, starting in I guess it would have been late last year, like December, and then transitioning into January. I know a lot of people are in the woods, or a lot of people it's their off time. I can tell you right now, I spent a lot of time, and Seth can attest to this, up at a place like Bugs Island and Gaston and some of these other lakes. I just frankly don't fish that much. And I'm like you, Seth, I live 15 minutes away from Sharon Harrison. I think I've been out there twice, and that was taking my wife fishing. Right. So I don't fish that lake. It's not fun for me. It's fun to fish, but it's just not, it doesn't challenge me. Right. And so for the audience, when you're looking at, if you have the opportunity and you're not north, far north, one of the best times of the year to get out and really learn a body of water outside of downloading that deep dive app and learning that stuff is getting out there and seeing these lakes at some of their lowest conditions, because you get to visually see different rock piles and stump fields and all sorts of structure and cover that's at the bottom of the lake or on the shoreline, buckbrush, all these types of things. And I would say that was one of the biggest keys to success in building confidence for the 2026 season here locally, was just understanding what I'm looking at. When water's covering it, I knew exactly what I was looking at. Right. So
that's right.
I challenge anybody to get out there in these winter conditions, low level, be careful, wear your PFD, but use your eyes and actually go look at what's going on around you.
It's not just winter, but it's also fall, because you went out a lot in the fall too. A lot of guys in deer woods. And, at
that's
least
one thing I never understood. I just don't understand why these people just hang August 1st, they hang it up, man. They go start chasing these skinny deer that are full of ticks. It's 100 degrees still here in August. I have no idea why you want to sit in a tree and get eat up by mosquitoes. I don't understand that.
Look, I've never been that way. If I go deer hunting, I'm a rifle guy, and Missouri's got a 10-day season, and that's it.
Right.
I'm not bow hunting and stuff. But when it comes to fall fishing and in the winter, one of the things I've noticed over the years that fall fishing is a lot more unpredictable, just because the thermal appears. Those fish do not have to go shallow like they do in the spring. They can go anywhere. I mean, they could be anywhere in the lake. They can be out in the middle. They could be in the back of pockets. And so it forces you, even though sometimes you have a lot of tougher days in the fall trying to find the fish, it forces you to go to explore and try to find them, which means you're looking at more different stuff, and you could be seeing things you'd never seen before, because you wouldn't normally go over there except for that time of season.
And that time of year, I mean, if you have the forward-facing sonar technology, the fall transitioning into the winter is some of the best time to get out there and train with that technology, because fish are going to be everywhere. But the one thing about that is you're going to be able to really dial in what you're looking at, right? You might catch 50 crappie before you realize that you're looking at a crappie on that technology. But Seth and I have had some phenomenal days out at Bugs Island catching spotted bass, largemouth bass, striper. I mean, pretty much the entire lake was on fire in the fall, and you just got your pick of the litter and you could scope whatever you wanted to scope. But it's a great way to train on that technology. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. But if you're going to use it, that's a great time of the year to train. Seth, for the team trail deal, so much like the Fishers Men, it's a team trail deal. Pete and I, as the audience knows, the last 3 years been fishing that. Got fortunate enough to win AOY. And by the way, we had a tie for first place at the last tournament. I have to make that clear. Still count that as a win. In my book, we got first place trophies. So congratulations to those guys who also won. I can't remember their names. I think they were local guys. But nevertheless, a team dynamic in these circuits is very important. You got your fishing partner for the year, Seth. I think this is the first year you guys fished as a team together, correct?
Timmy and I fished a little bit last year too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What happened
was
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, when I left to go to fish the road, my team partner was my father-in-law, and with me being gone a lot and not having time, and then when I was home, I wanted to spend time with my wife and kids. I just, I didn't fish that much at home. So when I got back, my father-in-law had found a new partner, and Timmy him and his partner had kind of parted ways, so it just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah. So, talk to the audience about how important it is to pick the right team partner, and then talk the audience through like some of the things you had to do as a more experienced. I know Timmy's experience, but like you were on the road fishing nationally, like you're just dialed in on the water. Like talk to the audience about like team partner dynamics and what you see as being like some of the best ways of success.
Well, that's a huge deal, right? Some guys just do not mesh well together. They can be really great fishermen singularly, but when they get together, they butt heads. And I don't mean that figuratively. I just mean like their styles of fishing, right? So that's a really good question. For me, Timmy and I work well together because Timmy can kind of do a little bit of everything, right? It's not a problem for him to pick up a shaky head or drag a Carolina rig or throw a topwater bait. Like he can kind of do a little bit of everything. For me, once in practice, I can figure out what we need to be doing. And I realize that me being in the front of the boat, I'm the one that's going to be first crack at most of the targets. I kind of want to figure out, okay, for instance, if I'm going to bed fish, let's just use this as a scenario because it's the easiest one to help people understand. If I'm going to bed fish and I pull into a pocket, right? If there's 2 or 3 beds close by and he can bed fish, Timmy can do that. But if there's only one, I'm going in, it's a big one, I'm fishing for it. Timmy's really good at just picking up a Senko and 360-degree casting behind a boat. Yep. If guys are willing to kind of do that and have confidence in those things, then it'll work out great. But if you have a guy that wants to get up there with you and stand shoulder to shoulder and make the next pitch, it becomes a problem. So Timmy's really good at being able just to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Impromptu, just pick a rod up and go fishing. And there's been many times where I've been bed fishing. He'll be like, I got one, and it's a giant. And I'm like, what in the world? It's just he's good at doing it, and that works out for us. Like in the springtime, if I'm cranking, he'll throw a spinnerbait. Or if I'm throwing a chatterbait, he'll throw a crankbait. Or if I'm throwing a crankbait, he'll throw a chatterbait. So we work really well together throwing different things, which helps us break down water faster, kind of understand the bite better. So for people, I will tell you, find somebody. And also you want to be able to enjoy time with them in the boat because you do spend a lot of time with them in practice and in the events. And you don't want to get to a point where you don't want to be spending time with that person. So those are my things, is just find somebody you gel with that you're okay with. Like, and there's been times where I'm like, Timmy, get up there. I got to do some things. And Timmy can get up there and he's caught fish in the front of the boat as well. So you just kind of want to make sure that the person that you choose to fish tournaments with, you get along with, that you guys fish well together with. That's the biggest thing. Like being able to say, hey man, do you mind? And I do this a lot. I'll be like, Timmy, pick that up real quick. And Timmy will pick it up. Like he doesn't ever say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm saying, man, just try this real quick. I'm going down this bank flipping. Do me a favor. Will you just throw a spinnerbait down these logs while I'm flipping them to see they want a reaction type of bait? And Timmy's really good at doing that. Because as a tournament angler and I get something in my head, I want to roll with it. And that's why I want somebody else behind me that's able to adapt on the fly and say, yeah, I'll pick that up real quick. No worries. Or I'll make 15 casts with that. And then there's been times where I'm flying and I'm not getting bites, and Timmy will be slow behind me and he'll catch one. And he'll be like, are you going to slow down now, dummy? Right? So it works out great. Timmy and I have really bonded well together, fished well together. So it's been good, and it just kind of worked out.
I'm going to ask you another question here in a second, but for the audience, like everybody knows, Pete and I for the last few years, we fished together. There's times as a boater, we're both boaters, right? So that's one thing to consider. I know Timmy doesn't have a boat right now, but he's about to. Right. but there's a lot of weight that's on your shoulders as a boater with somebody who doesn't have a boat. And what I mean by that is a lot of times you're stuck making pretty much 100% of the decisions and stuff. So there's a lot of stress induced with that. But nevertheless, you know, when Pete and I fish together, the one thing I'll say, even if Pete wasn't a boater, I have zero issues of putting Pete in the front, especially when it's like a situation where I know he's very, very confident in, right? Like if I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that he's really good at bed fishing, which he is good at bed fishing, I'll put him in the front of the boat. I'm also not scared to say exactly what Timmy said. Like, hey, you're going to slow down. Hey, you're going to make a more effective cast. Like, hey, like use your head, right? We shouldn't, unless we're flipping laydowns, somebody should be throwing a different bait, right? To see what's going on. And there's been plenty of times like you talked about where Pete out of the back of the boat has caught every single fish. And that's because either I was only hunting.
Like one time. Huh? Well, it's like one time.
No. I mean, it's happened a couple times. Gaston was a perfect example. Gaston, I think, what was the tournament before that? I can't remember, dude. There's been multiple times.
That was a bug.
Yeah, that one right there. Like we both gelled in that one. We both standing in the front of the boat, and that was a huge decision thing. And we told the audience about making like a 30-mile run down the lake and catching almost 15 pounds in about 45 minutes, and it was all in 22 foot of water. We just ran out of shallow fish. They weren't there, so we made a move, and I was confident, and he stood up front with me, and we just started whacking them. But so for the team dynamic is very important. Communication, talking your partner off a ledge when they're spun out, right? Those types of things, or, you know, whatever, or shutting up and just letting them get it out of their system. That's also a thing too. Cause I remember Pete and I rolling up on you and Timmy at that cat championship on bugs. And you were not very happy. Like you wanted to break every rod, in your boat. And, but it was just one of those things, right? Like Timmy at that moment was just like, okay, I'm just going to let him get this out of his system. And, you know, maybe he'll change his diaper and we'll move on. You know what I mean? But, so you talked about all the good things. Talk about some of you won AOY, huge victory, but what were some of the biggest challenges you as a team faced this year?
Biggest challenges. Timmy doesn't get to fish as much.
Yep.
Timmy owns his own business. So he's, you know, I'm just texting him right now. We got a tournament this weekend. He's sick, but he's also an HVAC tech. You know, he owns an HVAC company. So right now, this time of the year, when it's the summertime, he's busy, right? So he doesn't get to fish as much. So that was a huge thing that I spent a lot of time by myself. But regardless, you know, it worked out. I think the biggest thing that we faced this year, I made several bad decisions throughout the year, which I owned. It is what it is. But I think the biggest one was we lost so many fish this year. And I don't mean that like I usually everybody loses fish, and I understand that. But I can promise you for about 3 tournaments in a row, we lost our biggest bite every tournament. Not once, not twice, but 2 or 3 times in a tournament. And that really starts to play with your head. And it won't just me. Like Timmy lost them, I lost them. So it's not like he can blame me and I can blame him. We were equally as guilty for whatever reason, right? And it wasn't mechanics. It wasn't equipment. You know, I have some of the best rods and reels in the business with Luz. It just wasn't meant to be some of those days, right? And I think that's what people have to realize is that I've been doing this long enough to know that there are days when you have just everything goes right. You catch the fish you're supposed to catch. You catch the fish you're not supposed to catch. And it works out perfect. And then there are times when you don't catch the fish you're supposed to catch and you don't catch the fish you're not supposed to catch. And you lose the ones that you had on. Like that's just the way this game goes. So I think that was for us was keeping our head in the game when we lost 4-pounders, 5-pounders, 6-pounders. Because I know there was a stretch in April that I think we should have, and this is just my opinion. I think we should have won about 5 or 6 events in a row, not just for Five Alive, but every event we fished for like 5 or 6 events. So it was like Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 weeks in a row. We had the fish on to win every single event, and I don't mean win. I mean win by like 7 or 8 pounds.
Oh, like dominate.
Yeah. And it was just bad luck, bad execution, whatever you want to call it. And then on top of that, the next 3 weeks you make bad decisions. It just makes it even worse. So it was just we was really got ourselves into a bad position halfway through the year, and we fought our way out of it. We just kept fishing, we kept catching them. But that was the biggest thing for us, was just poor execution and bad luck, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I don't.
Everybody.
Go ahead, Ben.
But the resiliency to keep your head in the game to overcome that. Because
I'll be honest with you,
that just quit. I mean, I've seen it,
and trust me, I've been there, and I realize you.
I'll be honest. There have been days that I've lost a big one. I said, "Screw it, I'm going to the house."
Yeah,
it's not my day. I mean, I've had days where I've lost, like one day in particular. I think I lost 4 or 5 4-pounders. Like my line just quit breaking randomly. That's why I never use that particular line of brand of line ever again. But randomly just break.
Yeah.
And I said, I forget it. I'm going to the house. I didn't go to the house because it was a tournament. I was just like done. I was like, I just started going, like, instead of using a drop shot offshore, I'm just going to flick a Texas rig.
And that happens to everyone.
Yeah, you mentally check out. It's tough, man. It really is. This is a game that you have to be mentally strong, right? And there were times when I've done things or things have happened, and I'm like, we should have just left it on the trailer today. Like, this is ridiculous. But then all of a sudden, all of a sudden, you go from 10 pounds to 13 and a half, and you saved your season.
Yeah.
No,
and that's what
if I had enough money, I would have done broke about 6 or 7 rods this year. And much like you, Seth, I think there was a couple tournaments where we lost some pretty big ones, right? And those are mistakes that, like, you look at. So when you don't win AOY, and at the end of the season, you're like, those fish cost me.
Yeah.
Fortunately for you guys, and fortunately for us, those fish didn't cost us, and you're still able to seal the deal on that. And Timmy got his first points championship, and that's awesome. I know you've won several points championships before, but they're hard to do. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're at; they're super hard. And you grew a lot as a team. For the audience, though, there is nothing worse than both of the guys in the boat having a really bad attitude. That is like the worst situation, at least in my opinion, that you can find yourself in. If Pete's in a bad mood and I'm in a bad mood, dude, we do not fish well. Like, that just does not, like, it never works out. So, that's another thing to look for in a team partner is you don't want somebody that's like fakely overly positive, but you need somebody to help you kind of climb out of that hole that you're in. Because Seth, I know I watched you. You're like, dude, I'm done doing this. And it's like, I get it, man. You want to quit, but look at
so hard. Like, people don't understand. Some guys do. I don't mean that as a general. I just mean the general public. You work so hard. You put so much time in, whether it's locally, nationally, regionally. You spend time away. You spend money. And you work so hard to get that bite. And whether it's divine intervention, poor execution, whatever it may be, it doesn't work out. It sucks. And it hurts. It's like, what are you doing?
Yep.
I don't know.
Did you guys have a tournament this year with, let's just leave it at Five Alive, no forward-facing sonar. Did you have a tournament this year that was your most fun tournament that you can remember? Where was it at and why was it so fun? Or was it like super stressful and then it turned into absolute fun?
Well, all of them were stressful because I felt like I said, we just made bad decisions or lost fish every time we got in the water. But I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. Mayo was fun. Like, it was fun because Timmy's a big topwater guy, right? Timmy loves throwing topwater, and I like throwing topwater. but I think it's a lot of times it's situational because for whatever reason, myself, I haven't got on a consistent topwater bite in the last several years. We were fortunate enough to figure some stuff out at Mayo, and it worked in our favor. Now, granted, we had 14 pounds. We finished 6th. We got a little check. We won the points. But, I mean, Timmy and I probably caught 70 fish that day, all on topwater. And to do it, I told him, I said, man, we're just going to do it. We're going to have fun with it. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. We ain't going to change it. And I think we landed everything that bit, which is unheard of on a treble hooked bait and a topwater plug. We were catching them 2 at a time.
Oh.
And it didn't matter where we set the boat down, they bit. And that's the most fun I've had in a long time. We didn't win, but I can tell you to catch that many fish in a day's time.
That's winning.
It is. And I'll be honest with you. It was like 11:30, and I believe we probably caught close to 50 by then.
Oh, my gosh.
I said, Timmy, we got to do something. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, we cannot keep catching 250s all day. And it was like the next cast, I caught like a 3-something. So it just worked out. But to be on that type of fishery and to have that type of time, I mean, they literally wore the paint off a brand new Strike King Sexy Dog, clear chartreuse. They wore the paint off of it. Like the half of it's gone, and guys that fish there all the time couldn't believe it. They're like, there's no way we didn't catch any on top. And I'm like, I'm just telling you, you can ask my partner because he caught just as many as I did out of the back of the boat throwing a walking bait.
Yep.
So probably the last event of the year, a place that I didn't expect to do well. I've been there maybe 4 times in my life and don't really care if I ever go back.
Well,
But
I mean, it's a great place to fun fish.
100%. 100%.
It's not a great tournament lake, but it's Seth's talking about Mayo. It's a small reservoir. Pete and I had a 3rd place finish up there this year. A drastically different bite. We talked about that before. Caught all of our fish in about 20 minutes on a drop shot in 40 feet of water. Had like almost 17 pounds in the middle of the spawn, right? There's still fish on the bed too right now, actually. So if you're going to go fishing up there, we ain't got no more tournaments, so go try to jack them off the bed. But it's a cool little place. And yeah, man, did you guys ever have one of those days this year where you had 4 fish in the box and it just took forever to get that 5th fish?
I'm trying to think. I'll be honest with you. I know we caught them pretty quick at Bugs. We caught them pretty quick at Mayo. We caught them quick at Gaston.
On the flip side, you had a day where it took forever to get that first fish, and then you figured them out.
Oh, yeah. That's a good question.
So, where were we at? Gaston. And I'll tell you why. Because there was fish on beds. There was fish kind of doing everything. A lot of pre-spawn fish still spawning fish, and then there was a few post-spawn fish. And I had spent a day up there, I think, and I had found a few on bed, but I could get bit on some moving baits. And I think it took us 3 hours to put a fish in the boat because I jumped off 2 that were over 5 off bed, and Timmy jumped one off on a wacky worm on a grass line. And then I ran to like 15 beds, and they were all gone. So then I changed zones. I literally ran like 10 miles up the lake, changed zones. On the first creek I pulled into, I catch one that was like 4. And then we kind of just rolled in that little 3-mile area and caught all our weight within an hour. But that was one of those events where I jumped off 2 5s. Timmy jumped off a 4. I had another one bite 3 or 4 times on bed, and I never hooked her. That was like 6 or 7. I mean, it was a 25, 26-pound day easy, and I think we weighed in 15 pounds and finished in the top 6 again. You know, that was one thing about us. We were consistent. We had everything was top 10 except for one. Yeah, and that was at Bugs, and we finished 15th in that one.
Yep. On the lake that you're pretty renowned on, like a lot of people know, if it's a shallow water slam fest, like you can rest assured you're going to show up for that deal.
And I made a bad decision there. Like I went to a place where I thought I could win the tournament in 10 minutes, and I sat there for 4 hours and caught 9 pounds. And that was remember I told you, I said it was the dumbest thing I've ever done. I looked at Timmy and said, "That's on me, man. My bad."
Yeah.
I turned around and ran 10 miles up the lake, and we salvaged our tournament. I think we weighed in like 13. And even then, like, it was just bad. Like I said, it was just one of those deals where it worked out because we salvaged our tournament. We made some good decisions late, but it was just a bad decision.
You ever go down the lake? I know this happened to me a couple times this year. We would be heading, up, down, left, right, the lake. And all of a sudden it's like, I look to my right or I look to my left and I just make a hard turn. I'm just like, I'm going there. Mm-hmm. Did you ever have any of those moments this year where you're just like, I got to go in there? Maybe you haven't fished it before. Maybe you fished it in years past and you go in there and all of a sudden it worked out.
Yep. That was what happened at Gaston. I hadn't even practiced in that area. And I went to all those fish and they were gone. I said, come on, Timmy, we're going to go to a place where I know they usually get into. And got up in there and that's where they were at. And ironically, we went back the next day and won the cat trail event. I had 22 pounds in there. And I hadn't even practiced in there.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those things. I'm like, well, if they're doing this here, then they'll probably be doing it up there. And it just worked out. We landed them, they bit, and we had a good weekend. How
ecstatic was Timmy at the end of that last regular season event for you guys? How ecstatic was he when you guys got notified that you won the points?
Well, see, the way the Five Alive works is that they have a board. So when people weigh in, they write it on the board. So I had to let him off. Yes, the way that thing works is you let them off, they run up, put a chip on the board. And then right where the chip board's at is where the weigh-in board's at. So I wasn't thinking nothing of it. I was putting my stuff up, getting ready to put it on the trailer because at that point in time, man, it was over with. We couldn't do nothing. We was going to put it on the scales and see what happened. And my phone rang, and it's Timmy. Says, you sitting down? And the first thing I thought was, them boys smoked them. And he said, we smoked them, bud. He said they had 10 pounds. I said, hell yeah. So he was pretty excited. Once we got up there, Timmy's usually kind of reserved, but he was pretty excited, and I was happy for him because, he really wanted that. He really wanted to win the points for the cat because we were leading the points for the cat halfway through the year. And I just decided to stop fishing them for some other things. And he was kind of bummed out about it. I was like, well, look, man, we're literally in 7th place after 2 events or 3 events, 2 events, I think. I said, let's just go win the points in Five Alive. And he's like, no, I know what you'll do. You'll be like, no, let's just go fish over here because there's more money. I said, no, we'll fish for the points title. And it worked out. That's the thing. Like, we started in 7th and worked our way to the lead. And then the second to last event had the lead by 13 places. The guys who were in second won bugs and beat us by 2. So they were up by, so they end up being 15 points. So they had a 2-point lead going into the final event.
Which means you needed to beat them by 3 places, right?
Correct. And I think we beat them by, I don't even know. To be honest with you, I didn't look at the board. I just know that once they said 10 pounds, we'd won.
Yeah. No, that's, folks, if you're trying to do bass math on the fly, like, usually with these tournament organizations, like say, Pete and I were sitting in 2nd place in the points, the team in front of us, and we had to beat them by 2 places. And then the team behind us, they had to beat us by, I think 3 places, right? And much like Timmy called you, I was talking to my wife. We had, we got fortunate. We were able to bed fish pretty much all day on Gaston for our last Fishers and Men event. We did have a brim bite going on. There was a lot of bluegill spawning. That was the thing about the season too. I will tell folks that with Fishers and Men, you can use forward-facing sonar. We only used it in one event. We only used it in one regular season event, and that was on Mayo. Right. Everything else was shell. Huh? Go ahead, Ben.
2 years ago when you guys won AOY, the only event you guys really used it in was the one you fished by yourself.
Yeah, I was in Mayo. That was at Mayo, right? But I learned some things from Seth because the cool thing about fishing these team tournaments and with your close buddies and stuff that fish different trails, like you guys can help each other out, right? You're not asking for the answers to the test, but you're like, hey, you go to this lake more than I. What are the areas I should probably focus in? Now, of course, you're going to go find your own fish and stuff like that. And Seth was doing something very different than I ever heard of. Not the topwater thing, but something else that I'm not going to spoil that lake on. But like he was doing something pretty amazing at Mayo. And I was like, oh, wow, I've never done that up there before. Rest assured, I'm going to try that. But you know, that was a cool deal. But yeah, I was waiting to put the boat on the trailer, and my wife was on the phone with me, and she said, yeah, these boys weighed in 8 pounds. These boys weighed in 11. And I was like, yes, dude, we got like almost 15 pounds. Like we should be able to crack them. I didn't think that was going to be anything close to winning on that place. Now, granted, caliber of anglers in different in these trails are different, right? Like some of your best anglers that fish the local area fish the cats and they fish the Five Alives. That's what they fish, right? Or the CBCs. Fisher's Men has really great anglers too, but it's a smaller group. But they do allow people to cherry pick. And that's exactly what happened is there was about 4 or 5 different people from the local area that cherry picked. And I was like, there's no shot that this is going to beat what these boys who live up here, they're probably going to have 17, 18 pounds. And they didn't, right? They didn't. And luckily we focused our effort on bed fishing and a bluegill spawn, and we're able to seal that deal. And that's a cool title too. My wife was up there super excited about it. And yeah, it's those little plaques, dude, and getting a little money at the end of the year. So but you know, for next year, like what's your, as we get ready to wrap up here, do you plan on fishing team trails next year? Or I know there's this year, so you're gonna fish fall and stuff like that, but for next year, are you gonna fish with Timmy again?
That's the plan right now. We're boat number 1. We got free entries to all the qualifiers next year. We go out boat number 1 in the championship. So that's the plan. Now, the only thing that would change that is if I'm fortunate enough to find a business partner and go back out on the road. You know, that's my first love, to fish nationally. And that gives me the best opportunity to kind of help, you know, support my family doing this. Fishing locally is fun, but we all know that unless you win, it's tough to make any money. I'm fortunate I have a couple companies that I partner with that I get contingency money with, so that helps out a lot.
Yep.
But even so, it's still tough, man, because you do have bad days. And when you have a bad day and you don't get a paycheck, you spend all that money. And now, especially with gas being whatever the price is now, $4.50 or $4.25 a gallon, it doesn't make things any easier. So,
sure.
But that's the goal. Timmy and I have talked about it. We would like to. It's just all going to depend on what I decide I'm going to do. If I want to go back out on the road, there's some things that I've got business wise now that I'm doing. And then some of my current sponsors have talked, and I've got some other opportunities coming up in the fall. Right. So I qualified to fish the Opens qualifier for Strike King and Lose, right? Road to the Opens Championship tournament, which is on Table Rock in the fall. I qualified to fish that. So if I'm fortunate enough to go out there and win it, that's all expenses paid next year in the Opens via Strike King and Lose. So that's an opportunity that I have. So there's just a lot on the table. I'm really just enjoying. I'm getting ready to leave in a couple weeks for a Toyota. I'm fishing the Northern Toyotas this year, so I'm going to do that. My kids, man, I'll be honest with you, my kids are getting bigger now. My babies, you know that, Trey. So, you know, half of me wants to be out on the road and the other half wants to be home. So we'll just see. But right now, that's the plan. Timmy and I are at least going to fish the Five Alives because that's free. Playing with house money then, and then we'll see what else is going on. You know, we might cherry pick an event if I'm home from a road event, or if I'm home full time, then, you know, we might fish another trail too. There's some rumblings of some big stuff coming our way. Now, whether or not it comes to fruition or not, we'll see. But there's some big tournament organizations that are looking to try to move into our area. And if that's the case, the money's going to be right. So it would be very lucrative for a local guy to fish around here and make some good money. So
absolutely. Speaking of lucrative fishing, you know, folks, if you a lot of the money happens, a lot of the big money happens on places like Bugs Island and Lake Norman, right? Or Kerr Lake and Lake Norman. And you can fish the Piedmont region and make a little pocket change here and there, but really where the money is at is on these bigger lakes, right? They draw more boats. They, you know, Bassmaster events and other national touring events come there. And that's why you see like the Cat Championship, you know, the winner of that won almost $30,000, right? For a 2-day trip. Yep. $29,035, I think, to be exact. That's a good payday right there.
Fun with him before I come on here.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to Tyler Trent, man.
Yep.
He crushed it up there the same day that Pete and I were up there fishing that one-day Fisher's Men event. So I actually wish I would have fished that one, knowing what I know now. But yeah, man. So Ben, I'm gonna ask him about socials and stuff, unless you got any questions for Seth for the year.
Everything I got's for offline.
Awesome. Offline. Ben wants the juice. Hey, Seth, real quick, man. You talked about some of your other business ventures. Shout them out on here if you wanna let people know where they can find you. Probably selling some tackle and stuff, and then all socials, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah. So before I've been selling tackle now for 4 or 5 years, in between tournaments, and then in the off season. And I had a company called the Pros Tackle Bin. It's been absolved into now, which is just Seth Ellis Fishing. But I'm selling on Whatnot. So if you guys are familiar with that, it's a new app, free app to download. Huge platform for anything that can be sold. I specifically sell fishing tackle. Please look me up there, Seth Ellis Fishing. And then my Facebook and Instagram is also Seth Ellis Fishing. So that's where y'all can find me. And if you're looking for tackle, you're more than welcome to DM me. And if it's something I can get my hands on, I will do it. I don't have a storefront. I do everything out of my shed here. So if it's something that you guys are looking for and I can find it, and I can tell you right now, don't ask, because I can't get quickies. It's just too hard. Anything else though, I can probably get my hands on, but quickies, man.
Well, hold on a minute. What were you just holding up at the very beginning of the show?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I got 2. Right?
Those are yours. There are many like it, but those ones are yours.
Right? Those are mine along with these. So yeah, that's where you guys can reach me at.
Well, heck yeah, dude. We appreciate you joining us this afternoon. And folks, you can find him, Seth Ellis Fishing, on IG, Facebook, on Whatnot and stuff. Congratulations to you and Timmy on winning AOY for Five Alive, no forward-facing-sonar trail. What a huge accomplishment. Tell Timmy we said that. Make sure he listens to this show and leaves us a review. Appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. Ben, I'm going to sign us off here if anybody's got anything else.
Good to go.
All right. Seth, hold the line, and we'll end this thing. Thanks for joining us, and help us continue growing a culture of anglers, helping anglers one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.